The fog engulfs two high cliffs, hiding the ground below from view. On the top of one of these rocks, a man with long hair down, immersed in his memories, stands on the edge. He recalls the days of yore, especially the day when he harbored a dream of becoming a martial arts god. A dream that seemed unattainable, but he wanted to realize it. Every time he shared his lofty aspirations, people dismissed him as a madman. Nevertheless, he devoted himself to martial arts training day and night with a fervor that bordered on madness. Although he never achieved the godlike status he desired, he believed that through his efforts he had become formidable. His thoughts are interrupted, however, by the arrival of another man dressed in a dark blue robe with an army lined up behind him. This man, known as the Left Hand of Illuminating Light and a member of a demon cult, confronts the long-haired man, whom he disparagingly calls a mad demon. He demands the return of the Heavenly Pearl, an artifact the latter allegedly stole from the cult. Frustrated by being disturbed, especially when he is immersed in his dreams, the mad demon encounters a newcomer. The Left Hand of the Illuminating Light questions what the mad demon hopes to gain by indulging in what he considers to be meaningless stories. At the moment when his fate seems sealed and his escape seems futile, the mad demon discovers a small red bead inside called the Heavenly Pearl. With a wild glint in his eye, he threatens to throw the bead off the edge of the cliff. Instantly, a member of the demon cult begs for mercy and pleads with the mad demon to continue his story. In a light-hearted manner, the mad demon details his mastery of mind games, deception, and the art of setting traps with lies. He prides himself on his immunity to seduction schemes and boasts of his exceptional drinking ability as well as his mastery of light body techniques. However, his story is again interrupted by the Left Hand of the demon cult, which challenges the mad demon's self-perception. He suggests that the real reason why the mad demon never succumbs to seduction is not because of his insight, but because no beautiful woman can bring herself to feign attraction to him. So they had to lure him with a woman of more ordinary appearance, a strategy known all over the world. Their eyes meet, and the mad demon again threatens to throw the Heavenly Pearl into the abyss. The second man hastily encourages him to go on, wanting to hear the rest of his story. The martial arts god known as the Mad Demon has transformed into a true jack of all trades, embodying the essence of unpredictability and valor. The journey of the Mad Demon, who is unconcerned with the cult of illuminating light and its powerful left hand, is far from over. After enduring countless trials and tribulations and beginning his quest for justice in the world, his efforts now seem to be drowning in a sea of insignificance. Another person steps forward, revealing that the Mad Demon is at the top of the MIM Union's most wanted list, branded as an enemy of society and outranked by any cult member. It was the Orthodox sect that first nicknamed him the Mad Demon. At another sign from the Mad Demon, who asks if he should unleash the power of the Heavenly Pearl, the man clenches his jaw and apologizes for having aroused his anger. This interaction underscores the importance of the subject in question, as it shows that even the Left Hand of the Illuminating Light cult is holding back its anger in the face of the Mad Demon's potential actions. In addition, it turns out that the Mad Demon also took the lives of others, which emphasizes the seriousness of his actions and the weight of his reputation. Hundreds of cult members were involved during the intense persecution, but another man managed to contain his temper, embodying the calm demeanor often associated with Illum's left hand. The rage-fueled light cannot comprehend the audacity of the rebellious demon. The fact that someone is able to speak does not give them the freedom to use it recklessly. As a suffocating wave of bloodlust fills the air, it becomes apparent that the cult harbors a desire to destroy an unpredictable demon. Recognizing their determination, Light is ready to settle this through confrontation. In the midst of this, the demon considers whether to give up the Heavenly Pearl, given the difficulties of engaging in battle while protecting it. After apologizing again, the other man expresses remorse for his previous display of emotion, sincerely seeking a peaceful resolution through dialogue. However, the so-called Mad Demon reaches its limit. He shouts out his frustration at being relentlessly pursued all day long by the nets of heaven, leaving him no opportunity to rest, eat, or even a moment of peace for personal relief. It was this relentless pursuit that prompted the demon cult to deploy the celestial net. Clutching the Heavenly Pearl tightly, the demon faces his opponent, who asks about his intentions. Oscillating on the edge, the demon contemplates striking out with a devastating blow, an act of defiance, but eventually decides to swallow the pearl. A tense silence falls over them, and the other man, sensing the seriousness of the situation, breaks out in a sweat. Bleeding profusely, the furious demon is surprised by the unexpected taste of the pearl, which is surprisingly reminiscent of peaches. The left hand of the illuminating light, consumed with rage, reproaches the demon for daring to devour the pearl. Seeing their reaction, the demon can't help but smile, pleased with his choice. Veins bulge on the other man's forehead as he orders his followers to attack, ordering them to spare the demon's life so he can personally deliver him to the cult leader for a gruesome end. As they advance, the demon prepares. He deftly dodges the first attacker, delivering a strong punch to the attacker's stomach, throwing him flying. When the next man swings his sword, the demon responds with a sharp elbow to the back. More men join the fray. The guy skillfully dodges all the enemy's attacks. The demon accumulates its power in its hand and delivers a series of palm strikes, each of which hits the attacker's stomachs, by scattering them around and making them fall in a pile. Attackers are thrown to the ground like garbage without vital energy. With defiance in his eyes, the demon challenges the left hand of the illuminating light, taunting him to face it personally after seeing his minions fall. While relentlessly searching for him, he also sent countless thugs for several days to weaken the formidable mad demon to exhaust his power. It was time for him to step up his game. Now the left hand, burning with rage and gnashing its teeth, steps forward to deal with the mad demon personally. He orders his men to hold back, arrogantly confident, despite the fact that he hid when the mad demon was at its peak. Our hero looks at his opponent with confidence, knowing that he will neutralize him. A glowing blue energy sphere materializes in the hands of a left-handed man as he rushes forward at full throttle. The crazy demon prepares by closing his knees and summoning orange energy auras into each hand, boldly challenging his opponent to give it his all. Although he was previously exhausted by ruthless battles and strains to gather his fading inner energy, he is resolute in his determination to destroy this leftist enemy. With deadly force, the enemy is rushing to strike a blow to the formidable demon. The leader of the cult accumulates an energy punch in his hand and rushes to strike, calling the demon a bastard. The demon warns him that his strength is too weak to fight him, and that he will tear off his arms and legs with his punch. When the two men collide, they collide in an explosion of energy, sending shockwaves that repel everyone around them. The cult's army, which stood on the sidelines, was amazed by the strength of their fight. The frantic demon, stunned, tumbles over the cliff. The blow struck him with its force and threw him far to the side. Blood splashes from his mouth. In his current state, his body was simply too weak. On the edge of the cliff, the sect leader stands bleeding, the blow having hit him as well. He mocks the mad demon who thought he was stronger than the sect boss. Despite his injuries, he also admits that the mad demon was surprisingly stronger than expected, but he managed to strike a stronger blow than his opponent demon. With his hand crushed and purple, he screams in pain as he sees the mad demon fall to his death. As he falls, the mad demon curses them all, predicting a sad end at the hands of their own leader. His last words a defiant curse against them. He tells them to fuck off. He swallowed the pearl, and for him death seemed a small price to pay. The leader of the sect realizes that this rascal can do anything. The boss watches his opponent fall down, and the scoundrel disappears from his sight. Ordering his followers to search the foot of the cliff, the left hand demands that they find the body. Despite his retreat into darkness, the mad demon led a life of exciting battles. Before his death, he bravely fought numerous elite demon cults, even managing to steal and consume a sacred object from one. Such feats made his existence exciting, leading him to wonder if the Mama's Union would have honored him with the Best Martial Artist of the Year award if they had known about his adventures. However, in the grand scheme of things, these achievements seemed insignificant. His last sorrow was his inability to meet a beautiful woman. However, this regret was short-lived as the mad demon woke up and saw himself standing, hinting at an unexpected continuation of his story. A man with dark skin and a thick beard was lost in a vast white space, wondering where he was. The hero does not understand where he is and what is happening to him. Suddenly he is greeted by a tall figure with a thick beard. Deprived of reason, this strange entity, which could be called a mad demon, impulsively consumed something that contained a soul. Realizing who he is facing, the demon freezes. The newcomer is imbued with a formidable power. The man, dressed in white robes, quickly gets down to business regardless of the demon's strength. He reveals that the heavenly pearl, the very thing that the demon greedily swallowed, absorbed the souls of many respected martial artists. The consequences of this act mean that the trapped souls, now deprived of their chance to ascend, have become attached to the demon's essence. If the demon tries to rest, these souls will disturb his sleep. If he eats any food, the souls have communion with its essence. In addition, anyone he touches will find souls attached to them. His chi, or life force, is now in a state of violent upheaval, a fact which strangely pleases the demon because of the supposed increase in power it implies. However, the bearded old man is stunned by this prospect, wondering if the demon lacks the wisdom to consider an overloaded chi an advantage. Out loud, he doubts why the demon swallowed the heavenly pearl. At the request, the demon trembles, seemingly afraid. His eyes met the other man's, and in that gaze he felt an irresistible power, a feeling that this man could end his life with just one thought. The intensity in those eyes conveyed an unspoken ultimatum. Answer the questions truthfully or face instant death. Under the pressure of this quiet but strong threat, the so-called mad demon confessed. He did not consume it out of pure desire, but to prevent the leader of the demon cult from doing so. His contempt for the cult leader was palpable, rooted in the leader's inability to recognize the humanity in others. If such a person were to gain more power, the consequences would be terrible, even unimaginable. The older man listened quietly, absorbing the seriousness of the confession. He thought about his answer for a while, realizing the heavy burden of his decision. By using an unorthodox method that only a mad demon would use, he manages to succeed, and this fact alone justifies his special approach. With his shoulders tiredly slumped, the mad demon finally allows himself a moment to relax. The older man, realizing the gravity of the situation, offers him one last opportunity to redeem himself, knowing full well that this will be his last act of help before he faces his consequences. Confused but accepting, the mad demon recognizes this as the most beneficial option the older man can offer, and the greatest gift he can receive under the circumstances. The guy watches this with an indifferent look, exhaling from the tension. Since his life was over, an old man who looked like an angel thought to give the boy another chance. The demon did not understand his riddles, as he did not even understand where he was, but the angel was pleased with the boy's choice. The elderly man put his fingertips together and said that he wanted to give her the best gift anyone could wish for, and a small ball of energy materialized in the space between them, radiating light and power. The power impressed our hero with its magic and fascinated his eyes. A sudden flash of light enveloped the furious demon, the house and the grief in which our hero moved. The sun had just risen. Isaiah woke up with a start in his bed, finding himself in the house where he spent his childhood. The sunlight peered through a crack in the window, casting a soft light on the room. As Isaiah's gaze slowly swept around, it was undoubtedly his old room, but it seemed like more than just a dream. Looking around the house, he realized that he spent his childhood here. Shocked by this event, he doubted the reality of what was happening. But it was like the truth. He tried to get out of bed. The room was filled with old things from his previous room, and the smell of his old home was wafting through the room. He was really in that room and felt everything with his own touch. The demon sat there and wondered what had happened to him to get here. He recalled that he was about 20 years old when he last lived in the shelter. A sudden realization struck Isaiah, leaving him momentarily paralyzed. With this unexpected return to a time long gone, he recognized the opportunity to begin martial arts training many years earlier than he had originally planned. Having already acquired these skills before, he knew that this time he would be able to achieve strength much faster. A determined smile spread across his face at the prospect of becoming much more powerful than he was. He clenched his fist, realizing that he had struck it big. He had so much time to become stronger that he felt excited as he knew everything by heart. Suddenly, Isaiah felt a slight pain on his lip, noticing a small cut. Puzzled, he tried to recall any recent fights that might have led to this injury. Curiosity got the better of him, and he left his bedroom only to find the main room of the inn in complete disarray, with overturned tables and broken dishes. Then Isaac had another realization that landed him when he remembered exactly at what point in time he had returned. Isaiah lost track of the moment when he served two men at the table. They learned about Isaiah's determination to save money and asked him about the reason for his frugality. Unable to recognize his desperate situation due to the loss of his parents, Isaiah tried to find an answer. The question seemed casual, so he tried to respond with humor. He told them about his simple desire to listen to Chang's song on a plum blossom branch, portraying it as a modest dream of a boy on an errand. However, this innocent remark had a tragic outcome. Rumors quickly spread that the Zaha Inn assistant had been compulsively saving money because he had inappropriate desires for Chayan, wanting to sleep with her. This brutal whispering campaign led everyone to the same derogatory assessment of his motivation to save money. branding him a loser, among other things. Returning to the present, Isaha reflects on how a single joke about Chang, who was gaining fame in Yilang Prefecture, turned into a malicious rumor. As he observes the dilapidated state of the tavern today, he realizes that he has returned to that tumultuous period. This memory rekindles his anger. Unfounded rumors not only tarnished his reputation, but also led to violence that resulted in his being beaten and the tavern being destroyed. He decides to assess the state of his body before choosing the next steps. Sitting on the floor of his bedroom, deep in concentration, he begins by looking at the art of journeys through the Steel Lands, a technique he mastered during his era as a formidable demon. When he closes his eyes, chi instantly flows into his palms. He is puzzled by the presence of chi in his body, especially because at that time in his past life he had no chi, and even more so, an excess of it. Although the reason for this remains unknown to him, he recognizes it as a random occurrence. As he continues his journey through the Steel Lands, he takes a deep breath and starts right then, when the sun goes down the mountain, giving way to the night, which fills the atmosphere of a mountain night. Isaiah finally opens his eyes, and despite the fact that he is used to such sights, can hardly believe what he sees. He reached the first milestone of his journey through the Steel Lands much faster than expected. Suddenly he remembers the words of the white-robed elder. "This is the best choice I can offer you and the best gift you will ever receive." Isaiah wonders if this is what the elder meant. The old man assumed that the life force bubbling up in his body might have come from the heavenly pearl he had swallowed, but unfortunately more than half of that energy was unresponsive. Isaiah, however, could not be disturbed by this setback. A smile appeared on his face, reassured by the thought that there was still plenty of time. After all, he could get stronger at a pace that far exceeded his expectations. Suddenly, a loud rumbling in his stomach interrupted his thoughts, which were quite strong. He realized that he needed to be refreshed to become stronger and learn more about his capabilities. His stomach did not let him rest, making it clear that he was very hungry. It had been a long time since he last practiced the heart technique. Wanting to refresh his memory, Isaiah decided to go outside, to wander the bustling streets of Yilang Prefecture. As he meandered along, he observed the busy nighttime shops and people around him. His memories began to gradually revive. His presence did not go unnoticed. A man casually picking his teeth noticed Isaiah, in whom he recognized the assistant from the Zaha Inn, who was known for his joke. Despite this, someone mocked him, calling him a loser, reminiscent of Isaiah's past when he was scorned and mistreated for his humble position in the inn. These memories caused Isaiah to silently curse, which further fueled his determination. The longer he dwells on it, the angrier he gets. Walking along the cobblestones, he suddenly finds himself standing in front of the Plum Blossom public house. Plum Blossom brings back some bad memories. Another memory assaults him: the guards of a brothel mercilessly beating him. They accused him of being insane, of daring to desire Chayan, the most desirable woman in their establishment. They kicked and punched him, and he curled up on the ground, protecting his head from potentially fatal blows. Furious at the perceived audacity of a mere middleman lusting after Chang, they were determined to teach him a lesson he would never forget. Isaiah lay crumpled on the ground, insisting that he had never made such a proclamation. Opening his eyes, he saw Chang watching the scene from afar. Tears filled his eyes, and he wondered why she was looking at him with such an expression when he hadn't said anything of the sort. He limped back to the tavern amidst whispers of speculation from the audience. Had they not just seen Isaac beaten to a pulp? Stunned, he broke down again, bewildered at what bad behavior he could have done. At that moment, he felt suffering that left an imprint on his memory for a long time. When the memory fades, a vein pulsates on Isaka's forehead. Even in his tumultuous existence, full of disputes and misunderstandings, moments of calm seemed elusive, as if even the craziest of demons sometimes knew peace better than he did. Now he's back at the perfect time to clear up any confusion. "What are you looking at?" the man demands, calling him a loser and provocatively asking if he is planning to set fire to a brothel or something like that. The man then accuses Isaiah of being scared and suggests that he probably lacks the courage to even start a fire. He recalls seeing Isaiah beaten a few days ago, implying that he might have been weak. Isaga seems fine now, but it's a wonder he didn't die. The man advised him to stop wandering the streets and stay at home, given that he had experienced the past. However, Isaiah continues to disregard the man's advice, prompting the man to ask if Isaiah's hearing has deteriorated from the severe beating. When Isaiah asks for the man's name, the man is surprised and becomes angry. Preparing to strike, he pulls his fist back, but Isaiah quickly ducks aside and sharply hits the man's chin with her wrist, causing him to fall from the force of one blow. The man flies away from the boy like a man shitting himself. Embarrassed by her husband's anger over a simple question, Isaiah tries again to remember the man's name, but he could not remember the name of this loser. Saha is approaching the entrance to the Plum Blossom brothel. The first guard dismissively tells him to leave and get lost. Saha rebukes him, pointing out that this is no way to treat a client. The angry guard rushes at Saha, who quickly ducks and dodges. From the bottom position, Saha pulls out his palm, clutching the guard's face, and then shoves the guard backwards with force, making him unconscious on the ground, breaking the pavement with the body of the guard. His mouth was watering. He didn't even realize what had happened. Wiping the invisible dust from his worn-out robe, Saha goes on to complain about the terrible state of guest service. Nowhere can you find the essence of hospitality. Pulling back the curtain, Saha enters the brothel, where the patrons are chatting merrily, not paying attention to his arrival. Smiling, he loudly scolds the staff, demanding that they mark his client. The sudden flash startles everyone. They turn to stare at him. A buzz of whispers fills the brothel as people begin to question whether Saha has lost his mind, daring to show up after being beaten just a few days earlier. The shocked look at the guy as if he were a madman. He personifies an outcast in their eyes. Our hero stands frozen in the doorway of a brothel, showing everyone his confidence. Everyone in the brothel is not very happy to see him, but the guy continues to go to the brothel despite the obstacles. The two guards are amazed at the appearance of the guy they had recently kicked. Two guards approach. One of the men clenches his fist, looking at Isaiah and asking if he knows his whereabouts. Isaiah, smiling slyly, replies that he is in a place that serves drinks, and he has come with the intention of indulging. The guards almost broke down in rage at this insolence. Watching Isaiah's response, a vein pulsates on the guard's forehead, and he raises his hand ready to strike. However, he is suddenly stopped by an authoritative voice that freezes him in place. The voice belongs to Shanta, the manager of the Plum Blossom brothel, who intervenes to rule that Isaiah, as a customer who wants a drink, cannot be expelled. For Shante, a customer is a customer, and thus Isaiah's presence must be accepted. Isaiah calmly responds to the manager's gaze, and following Shante's orders, the guards instruct him to find a well-set table for his guest. Shante emphasizes the rarity of such an opportunity for Isaiah, implying that he should be treated with proper hospitality. Accordingly, the guards let the guy through, giving him freedom of choice, leading Isa upstairs where a male servant meets him and wants to show him a table. The guy climbs the stairs and longs to get drunk to get his soul out. The waiter points to the side of his seat. I took him to a large, luxurious room where everything was top-notch, asking about his drink preferences. Unaccustomed to such establishments, Isaiah asks for anything that is more expensive. His tone of voice unwittingly irritates the waiter. The server, impressed by Isaiah's behavior, advises him to pay attention to his manner of speaking. Sitting down in a comfortable chair, he feels libertine. Isaiah looks at the server with a haughty look, offering an apology with insult, referring to him as a son of a bitch. He then demands that the server bring him alcohol. The server, seething with anger, feels his veins throbbing with frustration. The waiter realizes that the bastard has gone crazy. He silently doubts Isaiah's sanity, having managed to hold back only because of the situation. The manager approaches and orders the server to stop, daring him to bring a drink for Isaiah. With a confident smile, Isaiah sits back down in his seat, and soon he is served hot food and first-class alcohol. The next person to service it is a woman. Inquiring, Isaiah asks the female server if Chang is available for an appointment at the moment. The woman informs him with a polite tone that the owner would not be happy if he met with Chang, referring to an incident that occurred a few days ago when someone was attacked for a similar reason. It is common knowledge in Yilan that this person was beaten, but Isaiah dismisses her concerns with a wave of his hand, urging her to simply bring Chang to him. With a sigh, the woman agrees to pass on the message. Left alone in the room, the guy pours himself a glass of alcohol. Isaiah takes the bottle of alcohol and sniffs it. From its smell and color, he concludes that they may be trying to trick the boy Aeon. It is clear that alcohol is not what it seems. In the dirty atmosphere of third-rate liquor, the reputation of the owners as scammers was well known. The tranquility was broken when the door burst open and a guard burst in. He hurled insults at Isaiah, questioning his sanity in a confrontational tone. Isaiah looked up from his drink with a calm expression. Is it really so strange for a mere messenger to seek solace in drinking in a brothel? And why does everyone call me a freak? He wondered. Recognizing Dlack's guard, Isaiah invited him to join the table. He offered to pour him a drink. Dlack, amazed by this gesture, could not help but wonder if Isaiah was out of his mind. Nevertheless, his curiosity got the better of him, and he sat down across from Isaiah. Did they beat the hell out of you last time? Asked Dlack, still puzzled by Isaiah's unusual calmness. Isaiah just smiled mischievously. He handed the drink to Dlack. Taking a sip, Dlack, trying to maintain order, advised Isasi to leave before he caused any trouble or disturbance. But when Isaiah called Dlack again, the guard's patience ran out. With anger overwhelming him, Dlack slammed his cup. He also raised his hand to strike Isaiah. With a quick movement, almost effortlessly, Isaiah grabbed his wand from the table and drove it into Dlack's palm, stopping the attack before it could begin. He looked at the guard with a satisfied half-glance. When pain became visible on Dlack's face, it became clear that he was suffering. Isaiah originally planned to enjoy a peaceful drink and catch up with Chang before she left. However, the atmosphere quickly became chaotic, reflecting the disobedience of an overexcited dog. Amidst this chaos, Chang walked in, her horror palpable when she saw her brother Dongua injured. Chang was very embarrassed by the boy's behavior and felt very sorry for her brother. She wanted to save him somehow. She immediately advised him to wait outside, and he immediately complied with this request by leaving the room, running out of the room in tears, holding his punctured arm. Then Chang sat down across from Isaiah at the table. The guy was happy and looked very confident. Noticing Isaiah's smile, she asked him why. Isaiah, however, hinted that even as an assistant, he was not obliged to suppress his feelings even under such circumstances. Chang asked with a tone of seriousness if Isaiah thought this disturbing situation was funny. She warned him that her brother, along with the manager of Sante's and the owner of the establishment, would not let this problem go. Isaiah's problems were compounded by additional expenses due to Chen's arrival, Duang's expensive alcohol, and now Dongwal's medical expenses. Chang advised Isaza to pay him off and leave quickly to avoid further complications. This meeting was Isaiah's first close conversation with Chang. With her stern warning, she unmistakably made clear the seriousness of the situation and the possible consequences if Isaiah decided to stay late. Even if Isaac brings a whole sack of gold and silver, she will not sleep with him. The fact that she works in a brothel does not mean that she compromises her principles. Meaning no disrespect, Isaiah puts his glass back on the table, trying to clear the air. He assures Chiang that he never spoke of her in a derogatory manner. Instead of claiming that he was saving money to be with her in a degrading way, he simply expressed a desire to hear her sing. He admires the way Chayan chose to share her art rather than her body, as Chayan herself emphasized. Isaiah's intention was to make a joke, though not in the way he had hoped. He had neither the intentions nor the means to follow through on the misunderstood statement. Finding Chang was his way of wanting to make things right. Suddenly he orders Chang to leave the room, leaving her bewildered and nervous. The girl is stunned and doesn't know what to do, but the guy starts yelling at her to get the fuck out of the room. Chang was startled by this phrase and could not calm down, but did not leave the room. Then 3 guards kick in the door, intending to deal with the bastard. One of them says his name. "You bastard, you must have come to die." Right on the doorstep, there is a belief among them that Isaiah arrived with a death wish. He suggested that they take their confrontation outside to avoid the hassle of cleaning up the blood indoors. Isaiah asks for a moment to drink one last cup of alcohol before leaving. Confident in their ability to easily send someone they only see on errands, they do not see Isaiah's request as an obstacle. The guy sips the last glass of alcohol and tells the guards that it doesn't matter if they kill him or let him live, because they might die by his hands. The guards are stunned by his words. Their laughter fills the air as Chayoung is sent outside, and they settle down next to Isaiah while he finishes his last drink. The men openly acknowledge Isaiah, recognizing that he is indeed a formidable man. He approached the fight with pride and even called Chang by name. They regret not recognizing its power sooner, recognizing that if they had, they could have fought it more fiercely from the start. However, with this new respect, they promise to provide a more serious fight this time. When they seek Isaiah's consent, he simply asks if they want a drink. The guards cannot fully understand his intentions. He seems crazy to them. The question they refuse to answer, urging him to go outside. Isaiah, ignoring their demands, pours himself another drink, his frustration evident. During a busy week when they had to sell high-quality alcohol, Isaiah seemed surprisingly calm, which prompted others to wonder if his recent beating had driven him insane. The guard tensed up, he seemed to be relaxing. And then suddenly the guy finished all the alcohol. The alcohol is completely gone. Isaiah, folding his arms, calmly asked his old friends if they really thought he was just playing a joke, despite their stern agreement and calling him a fool, suggesting that he could have solved the issue by beating him up a few days earlier, but instead decided to escalate the situation. Isaiah couldn't help but laugh. His laughter, filled with a sense of irony, seemed endless. Even when the men hurled insults at him, the guards found his laughter very amusing and could not resist. Holding on with all their might, they all laughed hard together. This is quite strange, since they wanted to kill him a minute ago. Isaiah's laughter served as a catalyst, prompting the two men to draw their swords and move toward him at the same time. Reacting with sudden violence, Isaiah stood up, violently overturning the table. Food fell on them as he kicked the table in their direction, trapping both men beneath it as it fell to the ground, leaving spiral cracks on the surface. The table covered these three unlucky guards at once. Asserting his dominance, Isaiah stood up with one foot on the table and repeated his question in a cold tone. This question struck fear into the guards who were lying on the table. One even shit his pants when he said, asking if they still thought he was a joke. In the doorway, the woman who had been present earlier stood frozen, amazed at the scene before her. Isaac asserting his authority. Isaiah was a little upset when he saw this woman, a whore. She was standing there looking right at him. The guards are on high alert. They get a kick on the table from a guy. Putting his foot on the table, he asks if he is joking and if his jokes are funny. The woman watches this recklessness and does not understand his words. Suddenly, Isaiah stops and demands even more of the vile third-rate dwang liquor from the woman, whom he unfairly calls an old maid. The woman, though visibly offended, masks her reaction and corrects him, stating that the drink is actually high-quality Tu-Quang alcohol, not the inferior one he mentioned. Isaiah is angry, skeptical of her statement. He prides himself on not impressing women who do not know martial arts, but silently condemns her for her courage. Despite her irritation, the servant turns away to get more alcohol. Meanwhile, Isaiah's attention returns to the wounded guards, scattered on the floor, thinking that they would have had more fun if they had taken it as a joke. In the presence of the so-called funny guy, their laughter is noticeably absent. The guy sees that they are no longer up for jokes as they are lying unconscious on the floor. The scene escalates when dozens of red-robed guards return inside, led by San, the manager of the Plum Blossom brothel. Looking at the chaos of broken dishes and furniture, he sees his wards broken. San confronts Isaga about his rash actions, suspiciously doubting his sanity. Isaiah smilingly mocks the manager. "Are you here?" The manager sees this scumbag crouching over the corpses of the guards and not showing an ounce of respect. The dishes are broken. The food that was set on the table for the honored guest is scattered on the ground. The guards died without expelling the boy, their bodies mutilated. The manager asks again if Isaiah is in his right mind. A vein pulsates angrily on San's face when Isaac, undaunted and standing up from his crouched position, meets his anger with laughter. Isaiah, undaunted and standing up from his crouched position, meets his anger with laughter. The manager promises that he will die in this room like a fucking rat. The manager was even more enraged by the cold smile that was killing his self-esteem. The angry San rushes at Isaiah while the boy calmly stands and does not move, signaling a conflict caused by a catastrophic misunderstanding and clash of egos. With a quick movement, San wants to strike the scoundrel, but the guy dodges the blow and picks up an empty bottle of alcohol. He looked at the manager defiantly as a failure. San sees that it smells like piss and wants to dodge the punch as well. But the bottle hits the manager of the brothel right in the head. Shrapnel from the bottle scatters around the room, and the guards are also hit in the face by shrapnel. As soon as everyone opened their eyes, they saw the manager in a pool of blood with shrapnel near his boots. The blow causes San's right eye to bleed as guards gather around him. By taking a fighting stance, the guy shows the crowd his confidence. Despite the tense atmosphere, Isaiah stands his ground, allowing anyone to challenge him. The guy's eyes are filled with some kind of red demonic energy. The audience grits its teeth in annoyance, but no one dares to step forward. As blood drips from San's wounded head to the ground, it almost seems as if Isaiah wishes for death. San, fueled by anger and pain, begins to draw his sword from its sheath. However, before he can pull it out completely, Isaiah sternly warns him to reconsider his actions, hinting that if San completes his prank, it will be the end of him. This warning sends shivers down San's spine, freezing him in place. It becomes apparent to San that Isaiah's warning is serious, and he realizes that something important must have happened in the last few days to build up to this intensity. Cha, the most socially adapted person in Yilong Prefecture, clearly realizes the seriousness of the situation. The defeat of the guards on the ground is not a matter of accident, and Isaiah's ability to wound Stiai was no accident. San is left with the realization that if he wants to live, he must heed Isaiah's warning, deciphering that the balance of power and the context of their confrontation has changed dramatically in just a few days. He must think before he acts. Otherwise, he could have drawn his sword only to meet his death. This is not an empty threat, it is a serious statement to think about. He could not even notice Isaiah's movements. Moreover, how can he beat him with the guy's strength and abilities? He pauses, then orders his men to go downstairs and wait. After sheathing his sword, he asks about Isaiah's intentions, since it is clear that he will not leave simply by drinking. Perhaps Isaiah is demanding that the owner apologize for the recent unpleasant events. This idea seems to pique Isaiah's interest. If he wants an apology, then the tavern owner Yogi must personally approach Isaiah. He agrees to call the owner and to resolve the conflict as quickly as possible. Continuing on, he asks if anyone has ever mistaken the loss of sight for resilience. Indeed, Isaiah did not lose his eye during a quarrel a few days ago, although he felt close to death. Turning to the servants in the corridor, he asks them to put a table in the next room. He then asks for Isaiah's permission to take care of the wounded guards, assuming that they will be rescued. The thought of townspeople harming each other is disturbing. Isaiah's expression remains indifferent. The manager is disturbed by the question and wonders how a simple guy could master such skills in a couple of days. The manager also asks if the guards got what they deserved after they attacked him. The guy replies that of course they got what they were supposed to get. While S is detained, the wounded guards are escorted to a healer, and Isaiah is transferred to another room. He had lunch with Sentet, although Sentet was struggling to comprehend the chaos that had so suddenly arisen. Sense realizes that this is complete madness that Isaiah has done to their bar. He asked Isaiah if he had recently stumbled upon any random luck or opportunity, but Isaiah just gave a silent look, riveted on the assortment of liquor bottles that were different from what he had seen before. San, taking the initiative, wants to treat the guy to a glass of premium Duan liquor. But the hero looks at the bottle with reservation and clearly does not like something. The manager takes the initiative and starts pouring alcohol into the glass. Isaiah did not hesitate to note that this alcoholic drink was not like the so-called Duan liquor. That they had been served before was fake and of inferior quality. Sun seemed surprised by Isaiah's insight and tried to smooth over the discrepancy by suggesting that it was a simple mistake caused by the need to make a profit. Isaiah interrupted San's attempts to justify the accident and insisted that San first drink to test for potential poison. When San took his first sip, Isaiah felt confident enough to drink as well. They both tasted the drink and started talking. Then the conversation turned to Isaiah's martial arts skills, a talent that San admitted he did not know about. Isaiah said that he had always had the ability but decided to hold back, following his father's advice to avoid conflict. The story took another twist when San referred to previous disputes and misunderstandings, apologized, recognizing that Isaiah's wariness arose from justified caution. Enraged by the mockery of his subordinates, Isaiah slams his cup on the table, reluctantly admitting that Santa, that son of a bitch, understands the situation. Isaiah's irritation grows as Santa's attempt to apologize ends up not going the way he intended, and Isaiah's hand twitched with the desire to resort to violence to correct his attitude. The manager saw his hand and decided to act. Suddenly, the chair is pushed back and Santa finds himself on the ground in an unprecedented display of humility, apologizing fervently. This was the first time he was seen on his knees, sincerely repenting. It is at this point that Chang walks in, her eyes wide at the stunning sight of her formidable brother Sue, lying down in front of someone they considered nothing more than an enabler and also treating a facial injury. Something terrible is happening here, the girl thinks, and it looked like the manager had also lost the fight to this guy, which scared the girl. Manga saw Chang trembling with fear. The manager orders them to gather and then instructs them to serve Isahi alcohol, as if it were all organized by Sue himself. He behaves like a boss with a girl and reproaches her, lowering her self-esteem. The girl sits and realizes that she is not comfortable at all. With hands that are visibly shaking, Chang pours a drink for Isaha, love that unfortunately was never meant for her. Holding a glass of expensive alcohol, the guy decides to make a little joke. He holds a glass of alcohol in his hands and asks if the girl knows what it is. Bitterly comments on the nature of the boy's love for the lieutenant who suffered for no reason. The girl is shocked by his words and does not know how to react to them. But somehow the guy squeezed his eyes shut, focusing on his goal. This love was never justified and it must go. He rejects her, saying that her presence disturbs the atmosphere. Chang pauses, still in a state of shock. But at Sue's insistence, she turns to her room, gets to her unsteady feet, and leaves the room. Visibly upset, she begins to cry when she hears Yaya's words. The manager accompanies her out of the room to continue her romance with the strong guest. Sue says that this attitude caused the girl to burst into tears. He feels bad about it. Isaiah looked at the manager drunkenly. Reacting to this, he calls out to Shante, urging him to adopt a more respectful tone, especially as his piercing gaze causes Zaha to suffer even more. He smiles at his words and says that he understands him completely. Isaiah did not understand why this rascal began to smile. He had not allowed him to do so. But Sunday is smiling slyly, not even realizing that he can get his ass kicked for being a drunken hero. Realizing the situation, Sunday stops his remarks and a silent confrontation begins between the two men. After a while, Sunday expresses his gratitude by bowing, a gesture that emphasizes his ability to show courtesy. Meanwhile, the air is filled with the sound of alcohol swirling in a cup. Isaiah waits patiently for the owner of the establishment. If the owner is entertaining experts from the Black Cat Union at the Pier Blossom Brothel, his arrival may be delayed. The Black Cat Union, known for its nefarious deeds, holds the key to creating a new union in Yilong Prefecture. The owner, realizing this, wants to visit them and get to know them, especially after today's events that changed the course of events. Even though Isaac can defeat the owner, the intricate dynamics of the game hint at a difficult situation. The manager with the bruise on his forehead realizes the absurdity of the situation. It's my job. Slamming his cup on the table, Isaka declares that the cat union will take matters into its own hands. The guy realized that this was not the way to solve things and that more was needed. Does he think that just a drink and a pleasant conversation with the host won't solve all the problems? The manager says that of course this will not solve all the problems. When asked about his plans of action, Isaac claims that the owner and his brothers could simply serve as subordinates. The Black Cat Union would remain out of the picture. However, Sun is skeptical that the owners will agree to such an arrangement. In light of this, Isaiah might have thought of founding his own sect in Yilong Prefecture, bringing brothel workers under his wing as followers. This proposal took Sente by surprise. Isaiah plans to confront them with a choice, prompting them to carefully weigh their options. If they believe in the victory of the Black Cat Union, they may decide to fight with it. Conversely, if they doubt the prospects of the Union, joining Isaha would be the way to go. San is puzzled by Isaha's transformation. The idea of randomly creating a sect is not something a tomboy would normally entertain. Isaiah throws his drink on the table with a decisive gesture and gets to his feet. San, perceiving this as Isaiah's intention to leave, begs him to stay a little longer. However, Isaiah's departure is not an act of retreat. San's suggestion only provokes conflict, leading to a tense moment between them. The manager put his battered head down, realizing that he needed to defuse the situation. Eventually, San lowers his head, wishing for a safe journey back to Isaiah, and offers to close his drink for the day. As he walks to the door, he realizes that he will not be let out of a bad situation. When Isaiah gets out, he is met with the watchful eyes of dozens of guards. Standing outside with a smile, he lets the scoundrels go, telling them to get lost as Isaiah descends the stairs. Mocking the bard's security, he is about to leave. The guards made a corridor and silently let the guy through to get out. Going down the stairs, he smiles, realizing his power and respect for the force. He immediately notices the doorman of the brothel, which causes a stir, obviously in search of Isaiah. The guy calmly approaches him with a joke that he is a watchman who has lost something or is looking for something. As soon as the doorman notices him, he pulls his fist back, trying to hit him. He says, "You fucking bastard, I finally got you." However, before his fist made contact, Isaiah deftly swung his arm, striking the door cheek hard. The guard is knocked back by the blow and loses several teeth, and crashes against the far wall, sweeping away the furniture with his body. The main room is silent. Since no one can stop the guy, everyone realizes this. The other guards should have informed the doorman of the situation to prevent this unnecessary violence, but it seems they did not, which led to his being beaten again. Isaiah did not expect anything better from such inattentive animals. He calmly makes his way to the front door. He walks out with a smile on his face and manages to humiliate the bar he walked into, waving casually, obviously having enjoyed his time in the brothel. Despite his rage, none of the men inside stopped him. He felt the power of victory that he was able to defeat everyone, and he enjoyed it. Returning to the tavern, the night streets are empty of people. A guy wanders the streets and notices an interesting place. Isaiah stops at a sword workshop known as the Dragon's Head Forge. Recognizing the need for weapons in his upcoming confrontation with the Black Cat Union, he decides to go in and look for something suitable, preparing for what lies ahead. In the noisy shop where men tirelessly knock and cool weapons, they work even at night to forge the best weapons in the tavern. Vice Master Guak Yong is met by an assistant from the Zaha Inn. He asks if Isaac's boyfriend has come to pay off a debt. However, Isaiah is here for a different purpose, not to buy ordinary items like a sickle or a kitchen knife, but to buy weapons. He reveals to the Vice Master his determination to confront the Cho family and expresses his need for a selection of weapons. Guak Zhang advises Isazi to calm down, reminding him not to let the recent beating cloud his judgment and threaten his life. Despite the warnings, Isaac persists, demanding that Guak Yong provide him with a weapon. He specifies that any light sword, whip, or sufficiently sharp dagger will suffice. Guak Yong is confused by his request. The choice of weapon is a personal preference that should be respected. The Vice Master orders his men to present a black dragon sword, a white dragon whip, and a cloud dragon dagger. As they wait for the weapons to arrive, Guak reminds Isa that he used to enjoy the noodle soup Isa's grandparents used to make. However, he thinks that Isaiah's version of the soup is tasteless. Isaiah chooses to ignore this comment. He tries to change the subject, but the topic of connecting the world to the world of the lieutenant boy cannot be easily avoided. Both men exchange intense glances. That's when others came with weapons. Isaiah immediately buys them all. This legendary weapon they made in their forge. The guy is in a hurry and says that he will test the weapon on the battlefield. The Vice Master sets the price at 90 Nang for all 3 weapons, given that Isaka is a local resident. The price mentioned by the Master was too high for our hero. The Master hinted that only because he was a local, the price was already discounted. Isaiah, however, offers to simply borrow them for 50 yuan, promising to return them after use. This proposal visibly irritates the Vice Master, who compares it to a theft in broad daylight. Amidst this tension, they hear someone approaching. A commanding voice fills the air as Kam Chulan, the shop foreman, joins them. A healthy, muscular man, the owner of this forge, wants to figure out what's going on. All but Isaha show their respect. Kwak, who wants to stir up trouble, tells Master Kam that Isaha intends to wage war against the 3 brothers of the Cho family and wants to borrow weapons for only 15 yang. Master Kam, addressing Isaiah, asks if he is the grandson of the famous Zahi, noting that a long time had passed since their last meeting. He echoes the sentiment surrounding the proposed deal. Guak mentioned to Isaiah that he liked the chicken noodle soup his parents used to make, despite its bad taste. Kulang tells Isaha that he will intervene to stop the Cho brothers from bothering him, suggesting that this is the reason for Isaha's intention to confront them. In addition, if the Cho brothers resist, Kulang assures them that the Master will protect Isaha given his ties to Isaha's grandparents. He believes that there is no need to escalate the situation more than necessary. Isaiah wonders if the Master had always behaved like this. He does not recall Master Kaval expressing these feelings before. Perhaps the Master's worldview has changed over time. Isaka is grateful to Kulang for his concern, but prefers to solve the problem on her own. Asked about Isaiah's plan, he says their strategy should include bringing together blacksmiths from the neighborhood to form a steel dragon sect. The Master, stunned, realizes the seriousness of the situation, especially if the Cho brothers manage to form an alliance in this prefecture, potentially exploiting everyone financially. This leads Isaiah to the goal of creating a federation of sects in the region to counter their influence. To prevent the Black Cat Union from influencing the federation, a new organizational structure is proposed. According to this scheme, the scribes will unite with the Renaissance sect, the smiths will unite with the Steel Dragon sect, and the architects will become part of the Chuck sect. Isaiah will take the initiative to gather the remaining professions, organizing them into additional sects as needed. The intention is that no one pays dues and no sect dominates another. Although the plan may seem random at first glance, it was carefully considered. When Smith's master asks about the name of the federation, it is described as a refuge for the abandoned, the waste of society. Combining these ideas, the name Hu sect is proposed. Blacksmith Master is puzzled, pleasantly surprised. It's quite fascinating to see a simple guy from the land dare to start a cult. He must be full of confidence, believing that he can stand up to the Cho brothers. Master Smith instructs Guak, the vice master, to provide Isaza with a weapon for free. They agree to resume the discussion if Isaiah manages to survive and return. In his bedroom at the hotel, Isaiah meditates deeply. During his meditation, he finds that the men in the backyard are disturbing him, digging a hole behind the tavern. He goes to them to deal with the problem. The Cho brothers' second brother, Cho Eagle, approaches Isaiah, recalling that he intended to call Isaiah after they finished digging the pit. Cho Eagle slams his dagger down on the table and asks Isaiah's assistant to come and sit with him. Isaiah greets his team with an apathetic look, and a tense silence envelops the room. While Isaha and Cho Eagle are talking, the thugs continue their work, digging a hole in the background. It was a good day for the Cho brothers, as they secured the approval of the Black Cat Union to form an official union in Yilang Prefecture. However, their triumph is tarnished by the actions of Isaiah, the assistant, who not only failed to prepare a simple noodle soup, but also caused a ruckus in their brothel. Irritated, Cho Eagle demands that Isaiah give 3 reasons why he should be allowed to live. But the protagonist reacts to his words with humor, trying to make the scoundrel angry. Instead of showing fear or remorse, Isaiah responds with laughter, which further inflames Cho Eagle. In a fit of anger, Cho Eagle tries to hit Isaiah, anticipating the attack of your opponent. Isaiah quickly draws his own dagger, his weapon ready to go, and strikes Cho Eagle's arm, pinning it to the table, deftly averting an imminent attack, stopping any action against him by the enemy. Aha confronts Cho Eagle, demanding only one reason for his continued existence. At this point, Cho Eagle realizes the truth behind the rumors about the boy from Aeon wreaking havoc in the brothel. His men finished the grave they had been assigned to dig, but the commander ordered to dig an even deeper hole. Cho Eagle suggests that Isaiah must have experienced some form of enlightenment by recognizing him before the surprise attack attempt. The commander wanted to catch the hero in the act and raised his hand to him again, the hand that was free. However, Aha quickly countered, cutting Cho Eagle with precise diagonals, grabbing his arm and striking him as well. Blood spurts out in all directions, splattering the ground. Cho Eagle howls in agony. He did not expect such a turn. The whole setup was just a ploy to intimidate Aga, which is completely unsuccessful. The commander says that he was not expecting this to be the most unexpected thing. Aga pauses, wondering if there is any reason to save this man's life. However, he concludes that someone like Cho Eagle, who was involved in human trafficking and killed people in cold blood when obstacles arose, does not deserve to live. Among his victims were people close to Isaac, who suffered on his behalf. Even in the face of death, Cho Eagle makes threats, trying to intimidate the boy, that his death would provoke revenge from his brothers and the Black Cat Union. The terrified Cho Eagle trembles and can barely swallow as he stares at the ominously protruding dagger. Based on his heart, Isaiah was looking for a reason to stay alive, not a threat. When Cho Eagle takes his last breath and falls on the table without a sign of life, the guy enjoys the event and looks down on his opponent. Waha turns to see the thugs still digging and orders them to stop. At that moment, the thugs were working hard and did not even notice what had happened. The men returned to find their boss dead. They shouldn't be surprised. He was playing with a knife and died by himself for no apparent reason. The men stand in their places, cringing, not recognizing Isaiah, who simply... Zahia's lieutenant Isaiah confronted the men, doubting their identity. He demanded that they take off their masks to see if he recognized any of them. However, it turned out that he had never seen these people in Yilang Prefecture before. They were also not members of the Black Cat Union. They had recently arrived and worked in the brothel Pear Blossom. Isaiah offered them 2 options: either stay and face death, or bury the deceased and return to their hometowns. The 2 men chose the latter, ensuring that they would stay away from the brothel from now on. They were hastily sent away. They made it clear that they wanted to survive and begged for mercy from the guy. But it doesn't matter, Isaac says, because their boss is already dead, so he lets them go. The 3rd man, looking for a way to stay, asked if Isaiah needed help in the kitchen. In a world carved by struggle and betrayal, Isaiah finds himself at a crossroads when he meets 3 men connected to the infamous Blossom Brothel. Among them, the 3rd man's culinary skills, particularly his knack for preparing a hearty chicken noodle soup, earned him a reprieve from Isaiah's wrath. This decision to dispose of the cook is a glimpse into the complex web of morality and survival that Isaac navigates. One way or another, he was worried about whether he would be able to survive and save his life if he remained a henchman. The man replied that he understood everything and was ready to accept any challenge. Isaiah enters the house and sees his old friend. He has smashed his head with a bottle. At the inn, Isaac is reunited with San, whose smile reveals a combination of distrust and respect. The hero asks San what he forgot at his house. San won a victory over Shigal, which no one expected from a person of such a high level. For Isaha, however, defeat was never an option. The son's preliminary reports of the injury, a strategic move to safely assess unfolding events, underscore his cunning. Now healed and reflective, San acknowledges Isaiah's important role in his survival, hinting at a deeper bond created through hardship. San looks good and was able to recover very quickly from the recent incident. The doctor must have helped him to settle the situation with his head. The scoundrel replied that if it were not for his intelligence and wit, he would have been digging a hole with these henchmen. The boy is playing some aspect of the song he wants to convey to Isaac. Barely able to withstand the impudent person, the hero says that he understands everything perfectly well. San looks at the guy slyly and thanks him for letting him live. Soon their conversation turns to the Tho brothers, who pose a threat to the peace of Yilong Prefecture. Isaiah's determination to destroy them emphasizes the brutal truth. Their continued existence means further chaos in the region. San, who has always been a strategist, warns Isaac about Cho Ilum, the most evil of the siblings, emphasizing the danger of underestimating the enemy. As the story unfolds, Isaha's decision to confront this threat directly reveals not only the depth of his commitment to protecting the prefecture, but also hints at the unfolding saga of loyalty, strategy, and the relentless pursuit of justice in a world teeming with shadows and light. They persuade San to buy some snacks to go with the alcohol they already have, since they have none left at home. Unfortunately, Isaka has no money, so San uses its own funds for the purchase. Isaiah emphasizes that he should buy an appetizer, which he chooses. This place used to be known for its delicious chicken noodle soup, but it has fallen into disrepair. However, San decides that he might as well buy the snacks he likes, thinking that if they are left over, they can enjoy them the next day. When San is preparing to leave, Isaiah calls after him. San pays attention to the boy and does not fully understand what he wants from him, reminding him that he's not going for a leisurely stroll, which irritates San as he feels reduced to running errands. San was stunned by the guy's impudence. He was stunned by his statements. The bastard fucked with him too much? The guy goes to buy a snack and thinks, what the fuck, does he think I'm going to be his henchman? Shai emphasized that he should not hesitate and do everything as quickly as possible. This made the boy very angry and he rushed to fulfill the task. As they eat together in silence, Isaiah urges San to eat well, since he has paid for it with his own hard-earned money. Despite the tension, San tries to enjoy his meal. These efforts are overshadowed by Isaha's harsh remarks about Sun's ways of making money, who exploit young women and trick people into buying low-quality Dwang alcohol under the guise of being high-quality. At these harsh words, San's hand trembles and the food loses its taste for him, marred by the sting of Isaiah's judgment. San hits the table with his chopstick and swallows alcohol profusely, clearly angry. The poor quality of the food he bought fueled his anger. He expresses to Isaza his concern about the possible reaction of the Black Cat Union if Cho Eagle dies and Cho Ilum suffers a similar fate. San was visibly agitated, his frustration boiling over, when he stood up abruptly, slamming his hands on the table. "Stop just worrying and doing nothing," he exclaimed in an irritated voice. San couldn't shake the feeling that the man in front of him couldn't be Isaiah, their usual errand boy. It seemed more likely that he was an imposter. Isaiah's face flashed with a noticeable irritation, indicating that he was on edge. "Are you looking for death with such questions?" he replied sharply. The tension between them was palpable, but as soon as these words left his mouth, San reconsidered his aggressive stance. Together, they decided to take decisive action against their enemies, especially targeting the notorious Black Cat Union. Isaiah, trying to calm the tumultuous atmosphere, finished his drink and stood up, ready for action. "Let's start with Cho Ilum, the eldest of the Cho brothers, since we have no trace of the younger one," he suggested, signaling the beginning of their bold plan to destroy their enemies from within. His brother's approach, as Zaha says, is surprisingly casual. He speaks as if he is just stepping out for a brief moment, not embarking on a potentially deadly mission to confront his older brother. Time is of the essence if he intends to commit such an act. However, the bigger concern is Cho Sang, the youngest of the Cho brothers, whose whereabouts remain unknown. Despite his eye injury, which complicates the situation, San is confident in his ability to eliminate someone like Cho Sang if he reappears. Isaiah advises him to make a quick decision. San, known for his skill in stealth, has the advantage of biding his time and using his skills to the fullest. He has the ability to defeat all three brothers, thus taking control. Given the large number of brothels, complete eradication of their inhabitants is impractical. Instead, their strategy should focus on ensuring fair deals, preventing the sale of low-quality alcoholic beverages at inflated prices. They plan to offer support to employees if needed and allow those who wish to return to their hometowns to do so. This approach balances the preservation of their fortress with some concern for those living in the brothel, demonstrating a subtle strategy for dealing with a difficult situation. The preceding task may seem daunting, but they are determined to continue regardless, as the alternative, leaving Dear Cha to die under Ice's control if Isaiah abdicates responsibility to S, which would subsequently lead to chaos, is far less desirable. If the situation worsens, C decides to confront the Cho brothers personally. However, San cannot hide his frustration. Any action he takes leads to threats to his life from Isaiah. Given the risks, San is considering retiring and seeking solace in the mountains. If their plan succeeds, he could run the 3 brothels, although he has no desire to do so, leaving Isaac to look for another suitable candidate for the position. While they are preparing, Isaiah finishes his drink and begins to undress, intending to change her outfit. This action embarrassed Sana, who recoiled when Isaiah suggested that they change clothes. Isaiah is eating on the Sabbath and says, "Take off your clothes quickly."